Cosata said that you guys are a bunch of caviar and champagne drinking rich kids who want to get rid of all the kind of fishing village vibe heritage and build a V&A waterfront and really just, you moved in there, this old heritage must go, we want the nice pretty life. How do you respond to those kind of accusations?
Oh, there could not be anything more inaccurate. I think from the word go, that has never been the position that we've taken, and I think Cosatu's press release, not only was it filled with inaccuracies, but it really didn't give any kind of regard to the objective of what we're trying to do. And I think it's important to realize that everybody who lives in Hout Bay loves Hout Bay. And we all moved there for all of these different reasons. You know, that rich cultural fishing village sense. Nobody wants to lose that. Nobody wants to cause unemployment. We want better jobs, greener jobs, more sustainable jobs. We want to find a way of improving the life and well-being of people in the valley and in the whole community of everything that makes up Hout Bay. So what do we do, you know? And I think really what Fresh Air for Hout Bay is now focused on is looking at what are the options. And as Roscoe very rightly said, you know, we have to make an informed decision. And this is what we're trying to do. So what are the pros and cons of keeping the factory open? What are the pros and cons of shutting the factory down? And how do we as a community begin to work together to make decisions that can improve life and well-being for everybody?
So if Oceana decides, because the unions and because the Civic Association have firmly said, and they get stronger petitions than your organization ever could get from the community saying, whatever it takes, we will keep this organization here, regardless of the smell, what would your response to that be?
Well, I think ultimately the decision of whether to keep the factory open is not going to be made by us, and realistically it's not going to be influenced by us. We certainly recognize that complaints are a contributing factor to the decision, but we don't believe that it's by any means the primary factor. So if the factory stays open, we'd have to evaluate what would the consequence of that be. So Oceana has said that in order for the plant to be viable, they would need to increase production, almost doubling or tripling their current production to 180 days. So with an increased production, there would be an increase of the smell. What would be the consequence of this on local businesses around? What would be the consequence of the potential for new local businesses to start? And the concern is that it would be very negative. At the same time, what would be the impact on jobs if the factory stayed open? Now, at the moment, there's 98 employees who are affected. This number has fluctuated between 102 to 98 from Oceana. So would a tripling of production mean an increase in jobs? Would it mean an increase in wages? We don't know. We've asked Oceana, they haven't replied. We've asked the unions, they haven't replied. So we would have to really look at what the pros and cons are here. Are we increasing employment by keeping the factory open? Are we creating a positive environment for other industries and businesses to flourish? Are we providing the best benefits to the local communities? And I think that we need to engage in a comprehensive set of studies to really find out what would the consequences be.
And Roscoe, you know, what will the community do if it eventually decides to shut down and it sticks to its statement that they're doing it for the smell?
I think, like I've mentioned, part of the petition or the reasoning behind the petition is to kind of get Oceana to actually state what the actual reason is. So if the city is saying that, in fact, you know, the air emissions draft bylaw does not actually influence this process, and if national government says we will extend your lease, then, you know, they don't have an actual reason to consider the closure. So we're trying to, like I say, take an informative decision. But if it does then consider to close, or if it takes that decision, what we would do is we would call a community public meeting, and we would engage with residents as to what action it is that we would take. At our previous meeting that we've had, there were suggestions that were made, and one of those is that we would demand of the national government to take the fishing rights that have been allocated to Oceana to be taken away, because at the end of the day, my understanding of the fishing process is that when you apply for fish, you need to fill in where the fish is going to be offloaded and what impact that will have within that particular community, and so forth. So for us, they would then not be complying with the application that they've given to national government, and on that basis we would then ask that the fish be taken away that they've applied for to be processed in outbays. So that is basically what we would be doing moving forward.